Hello and welcome back to Tinker Talks Guns. Today we're going to talk once again about the Partsman Special, which is now in its final form? Maybe. There's still a little bit of cleanup work and cosmetic things to take care of, but it is basically at this point done. And before we get into the weeds on that, I'd like to thank my supporters on Patreon. This is very much a shoestring operation, and your contributions help more than you know. I'd also like to thank channel benefactors like Rain City Shooting Center, Pinto's Guns, and a host of individuals and businesses that have made contributions to the channel that have really helped make this work. So thank you all very much. So, quick recap. This was an Olympic Arms frame from probably the 1980s, and I tried to use it on a project, and it turned out to be, unsurprisingly, out of spec. So I set it aside and finished that project with a different frame. But this frame was still sitting around, and it niggled at me. It bothered me. It needed to be a gun. So I returned it to spec by taking a little off here and there, adjusting a bit of this and that, and then I decided to assemble it as a 9mm Commander, but I bought the wrong slide. So I wound up with the 3.5-inch barrel and the short slide and the full-length frame. And I decided that that wasn't quite right either. So let's go to the tabletop and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So basically what I did in short is I shortened the grip frame to officer's length, which meant I had to drill and tap new holes for the screw bushings. And then as you can see in there, you can see the old screw holes. And of course I had to bevel the magazine well so that things would go in nicely. Now, how much did I shorten it? This is a standard full-length magazine, so I shortened it that much. And I can still get, because the very deep undercut I did here, I can still get 3 fingers on the gun. And I made a set of bespoke canvas micarta grips. I was fishing for the term there, which fit very nicely. They are nicely textured and fill the hand well. And they're a good round shape, so while it is thick as a double stack gun, the contours are very different and very comfortable in the hand. I left the hook on the trigger guard, not because I have any use for it, but because sort of an homage to its Olympic Arms heritage. Now I took the bobtail mainspring housing and shortened it to match, and then cut knurling on it, which is just hand cut 29-inch checkering, crossing at angles. Not the best job I've ever done. I'll clean that up more in the fullness of time. Blended everything in nicely. And it's still got the knurling on the front strap and under the trigger guard. The knurling under the trigger guard, when I grip the gun, anchors this finger very firmly, so I maintain a very good, very consistent grip on the gun. I did paint the front side orange, as I am wont to do. And of course, I had cut the top of the slide back to expose the port on the bull barrel, and the bull barrel bears here and here, so the top of the slide actually does nothing for indexing the gun. And of course, I put on this barrel a very deep, nice, conical cut at the muzzle, and overall it has a pretty pleasing appearance. I had to make a custom reverse recoil plug. I'm saying a lot today, aren't I? And so today I tested the gun, ran 100 rounds through it with different magazines. I had some issues with one of the magazines, which I've now adjusted the feed lips very slightly, and that seems to have dealt with those issues. It didn't want to feed the first round when it was full of 10 rounds. So that can now be a nice backup magazine. Part of the out-of-spec thing with this gun was that magazines wouldn't drop free. But as you can see now, they drop free very nicely. I'm going to put a bumper pad on the bottom of this one because it just lets you seat it just a little more positively. And I'm used to that on magazines having a bit sticking out, so I can do that. This one is a generic stainless magazine that I have shortened to length and reworked a little bit. And I'm going to be doing a little bit more with it before I actually use it. But now it functions, locks the slide back, ejects nicely. And one of the things that was out of spec was that the slide stop could not rise up far enough to reliably lock the slide back because the frame is overly thick at that point, and without modification, the slide stop couldn't go up far enough to do its job properly. So now that's all back in spec and working nicely. And the gun shoots very well indeed. You'll be seeing some of that in just a minute. Now at 31.5 ounces, this is unloaded. This is not a light gun at all. Feels like quite a chunk in the hand. But between the short, light reciprocating mass of the slide, the short slide with the light reciprocating mass, need to learn to talk, and the porting and the 31.5 ounce weight, the gun comes back on target very, very quickly and nicely, and really shoots to my preferences, which is very good for rapid fire. And since defensive shooting is about putting hits on target rapidly and accurately, that plays very much into my preferences. So there's still work to do. You can see that the frame here sticks out just a little bit. This is not matched. Same with the extractor, and that kind of detail, and things like the casting line under here, which is quite prominent, needs to go away. But that's just finishing work. The gun works. It works as intended, and is really nice to shoot and nice to deal with. So mission accomplished there. Let's have a look at what it's like to shoot. So the trigger, which I once again forgot to talk about in the tabletop, according to the handy dandy Lyman trigger gauge, it breaks cleanly at 4 pounds each and every time. Very crisp, no over travel, just the way I like it. And the reset is very positive, tactile, and nicely short. Good 1911 reset. Very handy that. Very good for rapid fire. So the whole reason for the gun to exist is because I couldn't stand having a frame lying around, and I wanted something to do with a few spare hours. Work in the shop is a very meditative thing. Future changes, as I say, will mostly be finishing details. Although, if I happen across another 3.5-inch barrel that isn't already ported, and this one was because it's from the parts bin, I may do a flush barrel and recut the port and things like that, but it's not urgent, and frankly, it doesn't bother me that much. I like the gun very well. It has no particular point in my life other than that it was fun and cool to do, and it works a treat. And it's always kind of nice when a project works out the way you want it to rather than the way you expect it to. So I'm very pleased with it, and I will be shooting this for pleasure because it is very pleasant to shoot, and it's a nice little gun. Yes, at 31.5 ounces, it's heavy, but as I've said before, I understand the value of a proper gun belt and a good holster, so the weight really doesn't bother me. And your mileage may vary, of course, especially if you're one of the younger people who grew up with polymer guns and are used to them weighing quite a bit less than this. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, technology and time moves on, but I'm happy with the results from this, as I say. So, and aside from cleaning up the cosmetic details and a little refinishing work, it's done. Stick a fork in it. So anyway, that's it for this time. I hope this finds you well. Stay safe, take care, and I'll talk to you again real soon.